Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Soul Sunday. I'm your host, Melvin Chief Lawrence, and with me this evening, as you can see, we have the great Jeremiah Rev Coleman. Guys, listen, we are so happy that you're here. You are certainly in for a treat. And this evening, our topic, we will be talking about all different kinds of names, gospel, worship, church, all of that. But this evening, Brother Jeremiah Coleman is going to be with us, and we'll be talking about the different genres of music. Now, I'm sure all of us are familiar with how famous Kurt Franklin has gotten with all of his music and the way he displayed. And you know, there was a lot of controversy when Kurt first came out with his music. People were saying that it was just too secular, it's too this, it's too that. And now Kurt Franklin has taken over. So most shows, when you start talking about Sunday, they do preaching and that kind of thing. We don't preach on this show. We will have some pastors and some bishops on our show. Now that will happen. However, we do want you to understand this, is that we highly respect our ministers, our preachers, etc. But we want you to have the opportunity to not only talk to preachers, but we want you to talk to many people that make up church and what happens and what transpires in church. And we have one of those persons in the realm of Jeremiah Rev Coleman, who is a dynamic vocalist in his own right. He's the son of a pastor, obviously, have several brothers that are in the pastorage. And that's why I nicknamed him Rev, because he clearly did that with that himself. Now, you know, I've shared with our audience already that you are Jeremiah, and I call you Rev, so we call you Jeremiah Rev Coleman. And we have alerted our guest as to what we'll be talking about this evening. Our topic is on this gospel music and church music the same. And we are just simply reiterating the fact that we know many of us, we call it gospel, we call it religious, we call it church music, we call it worship, and all of that. And I'll reiterate again, as far as Kurt Franklin, you know, when Kurt first hit the scene, everybody was going, oh my God, that's an abomination. And, you know, this guy has brought the nightclub into the church and this kind of thing. And then you have the gospel rappers, of which I'm going to have one of the young gospel rappers that I used to represent come on, Brother Ricky Clinton out of Cleveland, Ohio, that I used to represent. I'm going to have him on one Sunday as well. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, as we introduce Jeremiah Rev Coleman, we're just so proud to have him. Brother Coleman, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. How are you today?
Listen, man, I'm just excited, and I'm fired up and ready to go. And so listen, I've been doing all the babbling, and we want to hear from you. Now, will you tell our audience just a little bit about Jeremiah Rev Coleman, how you got into singing as a whole and how it affects your life even today? Now, I know that you've been singing for quite some time, but will you share with our audience who's having their first time to meet you, how you actually got into the whole vocal thing as it relates to singing and singing gospel?
Well, first of all, I'm glad to be here. Singing gospel or singing music in particular, it's not like I got into it. It's just like it got into me. I was born into me, and ever since I can remember, I loved music. Being the son of a Baptist minister, sure, I grew up in the Baptist church, and of course we sang in the choir. But it was always special time when it was time to go to the music room or to the choir room or to sing on Sundays. So that was just part of my life. I remember when I was a kid, we used to stand in front of the mirror and sing in Coke bottles, and I just loved it. And so anyway, that's where actually music started with me. It is my life. That is a part of me. That's the part of me. You say Jeremiah Coleman, well, you say the guy that sings psalms, gospel songs. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. That's just my ministry, my calling. Before I was born, I believe God put that in me. This is what I'm here to do.
Wow. Hey, man, that's wonderful. And listen, obviously, many of our audiences have not heard you. I say obviously, but they're going to be in for a treat with that beautiful voice that you have. And we're going to kind of trek on this a little bit, Brother Coleman, if you don't mind. If you can just talk to us a little bit about the, again, gospel itself, gospel music, if I might say that respectfully, religious music, church music, and now you hear a lot of people talk about worship music. So if you can just kind of break those down for us and talk about those a little bit, please, and if they differ or if they're all the same.
I think gospel music or Christian music, religious music, it comes from the religious. Now, when it comes anything that one believes in or practices, is their religion. Anything without being told to do habitually, if whatever they believe, that can be religion. But now, all religion is not Christian religion. I so happen to be a Christian. So the music that I sing is Christian music that depicts what I believe, the teachings of the Christian community, the lifestyle that Jesus lived, that Jesus exemplified, his teachings. That is Christian music. And so that's the music or the genre that I love and that I'm a part of. Of course, out of Christian music, it breaks down into other sub musics, and gospel has to be happen to be one of those genres. You got your spirituals, you got your hymns, you have your anthems. All of these are Christian musics. Now, gospel happens to be, as it is stated, gospel. It comes from the four gospels in the Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The gospel music depicts the life of Jesus Christ, the life of his birth, his life, his death, his burial, his resurrection, his ascension, and as I have to throw in the fact that he is coming back. And under all of the teachings, all of the things of Jesus' gospel, and all of the benefits of having Jesus as our Lord and Savior are depicted in gospel music.
Wow. Well, listen, just a reiteration again. Our topic this evening is is gospel music and church music the same thing? And we are talking about gospel in and of itself as a music, as you've heard Mr. Coleman share, and then our religious music, and then church music. And I think we just kind of put all that in one ball. And then we have a lot of people say that they are worship. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Melvin. Nice to meet you, Mr. Coleman. I just had a question just about gospel music in general. Like, I'm reminded of Ray Charles and those musicians who are also in the gospel tradition. So how do they fit within this genre of gospel music?
Okay, you're talking about Ray Charles. You're talking about other musicians. Now, you have gospel musicians. You have gospel music. And like I did say, gospel is about the life, the death, the burial, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The gospel's in the Bible. That is the main subject, the main theme of gospel music. Now, gospel music, I'm talking about the theme now. I'm not talking about the chord structures or the syncopated beats or any of this stuff. All of this comes in and plays a part. But if anyone is not singing, if they're calling their music gospel music, and they're not singing about Jesus Christ, there's nothing else in the gospel. Everything is written in the gospel is about Jesus Christ, and even the writers in the gospels, they all had various ways of writing. You could read their writings and tell who they were just about. Luke the physician, and you had Matthew and Mark and these guys. They all had their own style of writing, and they all told the same story, but from a different angle. And so it is with gospel music. Am I making myself clear?
Thank you.
Okay. As Myra shared that question with us, Brother Coleman, I alluded earlier as we were talking about Kurt Franklin. Now, as Myra is sharing, as we know, Ray Charles and those individuals had a if I could use the word religious start in music, then it kind of flowed over. We've heard Little Richard talk about that. Then it kind of flowed over into rhythm and blues and R&B and that kind of thing. So just to further what Maya is asking, and I wonder myself, I love Kurt Franklin, love Kurt's music. At first, I was probably his biggest naysayer. But I'm like, man, this cat, this is nothing but Saturday night music. But as we know, Kurt has pretty much taken over as far as music that we call gospel and spiritual music. So in coupling that with Ray Charles and others that will go from singing what we call gospel music to secular music, with your in-depth knowledge of singing and you mentioned about chords and that kind of thing, is there a comparison, or are these really two different things under the guise of gospel?
I'm a little confused when you say they cross over and go into secular music. And there's sacred and there's secular, and that's two different things. Sacred is sacred, which is holy. Secular is of Satan per se, which is not holy. Now, there are two different things. But I'm not saying, I think I noticed that you say like Ray Charles and many other artists start with gospel music or Christian music, then they go over and sing other songs. God is love. It's a matter of economics in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases, it's a matter of economics, because some fella moves over and starts singing, maybe saying love songs. I won't say it's secular, because God is love. It does not take away from his love for God. God gave him something, and if God allows him to go and sing on the other side of the music genre, well, so be it. But that does not take away from them being children of God. And most of these fellows, they go over, and when they really sing, and if they're singing a good song, they'll say, Lord, have mercy, because it's in them. And the Spirit is in them. Once you're saved, you are saved. Once you become a Christian, you are a Christian if you don't practice satanic lifestyles. But now, so I'm saying that, these guys move over. Now, some guys take the gospel style of music and put the lyrics with it. It's not gospel. Once the lyrics change, once the theme change, then the whole thing, it is not gospel music after that.
Wow. And so would that then now be called religious music? Would it be, I have oftentimes listened to artists and they give it different names, and you've made it very clear what Christian music is about the resurrection and the death and the burial and the rising, etc. But and the reason I ask about religious music, is it religious music? Because again, and I know this is a same question, but I just want to phrase it a little differently as we talk about religion and we talk about gospel, because people try to marry the two, and you really have made it clear. What would you suggest that we share to people when they try to marry religious music with gospel music without offending them? Would you suggest that we share with them what you said about the death and the burial and the resurrection, or what do you think we should say to them?
Well, we talk about religious music. Okay. You say most Muslims, their music, it's a religious music, but it's not gospel. Hindu or the Chinese or whatever religion and whatever lifestyle people believe in. And everybody doesn't believe that Jesus Christ is Lord. That they don't believe that Jesus Christ is God. And Muslims, they like Jesus. They talk about Jesus. He was a good man, but they said, he was popular. He did a good work. He was charismatic. He had a great a following, but they still don't own Jesus Christ as Lord. And that's religious music they do, but it's not Christian music they do. And so you can have to look at, that's where you divide. Yes, gospel is a Christian music. It is a religious music, but it is based on Christ, Christian. That's what makes it different. It's a religious, but it's not a Hindu, it's not a Muslim. It is a Christian form of music. Am I clear? Am I differentiating?
Maya, would you like further explanation, or are you okay with that?
So sorry, Mr. Melvin. All makes sense. Thanks so much.
Okay. Well, listen, I have a young man, excuse me, from New Mexico City, Mr. Ramon Villarreal. And Mr. Ramon Villarreal is asking, and I did allude to this earlier, I threw this in, but he's asking, how do you feel about gospel rap?
Well, I have no problem with gospel rap. The Christian plight is to serve the present age. Serve the present age. Now, what happens? Now, what does not change when it comes to Christianity? What does not change? And the message, the gospel message, does not change. It stays the same. Though the chord structures and the syncopated beats and all of this stuff changes, and it is because the people have got more educated. You got more educated musicians. We got more trained musicians that have been to school, and they knew all of the genres of music. They know the rudiments of music. They know chord structures, counterpoint, rhythms, and all of this stuff. Now, what is happening now? All of this education and stuff there is being infused into the gospel music. So, as a perfect example, and I hope I'm not being long-winded, as we remember, Thomas Dorsey is labeled as being the father of gospel music. And when he started his style of music, his background was he was a blues and jazz artist composer, and he was great at what he did. But he moved over from the jazz blues and embraced the theme of gospel. He bought his chord structures, he bought his rhythms, he bought his expertise from all of the jazz, and he infused it into and combined it with the theme of gospel. And people, they frowned on him real bad. Real bad, they frowned on Thomas Dorsey. They didn't embrace his music because they say he was singing the devil's music. But later, after he continued to write it, he didn't give up, and he had a life experience. I'll tell you what his life experience was, and I'll tell you the song that he wrote. Okay, Thomas Dorsey, after he started writing, his wife had child. She died at childbirth. Then the next day, his son, which was born, died also. Left him depressed and just totally tore up. And he penned a song, Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on and let me stand. I'm worn, I'm weak, I'm tired. That song, and many of the greats have sung that song. Reverend C.L. Franklin, Aretha Franklin's father, recorded Precious Lord and made it worldwide. And this was a guy that changed the style of gospel music as well.
If you share a piece of music with us that's near and dear to you, and or whatever you like, as you talk about the chords and that kind of thing, if you want to give us a piece of music that's near and dear, and then maybe something that may be a little on the other side of what you were talking about, but Kirk Franklin. I mean, Kirk Franklin is what's known as the new age, new godfather of gospel music. And as we know, and as I've alluded to earlier several times, Kurt was ostracized at one point. His music was. People, especially older individuals, thought it was just an abomination as to the kind of songs he was presenting. Now he's being somewhat reverenced for his sound. How would you describe Kirk's music? Kirk's music, would you describe it as church music? Would you describe it as gospel? Would you describe it as religious? Would you describe it as worship? Or all of the above?
Kirk's music is a gospel, but it is a segment of gospel that is inspirational. Kirk writes about things that are the benefits that you receive from the gospel of Jesus Christ, the benefits of serving Jesus. He writes about smile, and he writes about many other different things. Although his beats, syncopated beats, and the different styles of writing is just like it was with Thomas Dorsey. Dorsey infused his style of stuff into gospel music. People frowned on it. Now Kirk infuses his stuff into gospel music. At first, people frowned on it, but there's a whole nother generation that has to be reached. And Jesus said, greater things than I've done that you will do. And so if it is the music, and it's good music, music does not tell a story. The chord structures and the rhythms and all of that does not tell a story. But the story of the gospel, the story of the benefits of serving the Lord Jesus Christ is always Christian-based music. Now, you might not sing Kirk Franklin's song in a worship service, but a lot of his songs you do. A lot of his songs were not written to be sung in the middle of worship service. But it is inspiration that sometimes you have to encourage yourself and listen to what Kirk is writing, and all of his stuff is inspirational stuff. And I applaud Kirk Franklin because he's a great musician.
Great. Well, listen, will you do us the honor of sharing a piece? I mean, I know you may not feel like doing a whole song or whatever, but will you do us the honor, if you're so inclined, to share a little of your music with you, something that's near and dear to you, or one or two pieces you'd like to share? And feel free to share the whole song or remnants of the song, or just however you feel comfortable doing it.
Now, I'm a little confused. How do you want me to sing it a cappella, or you want me to?
You can crank your machinery up right there with you, or you can sing it a cappella. However you do it,
Yeah, crack the stuff this, if I crack this stuff up, I'm gonna get a feedback.
To the very thoughts of men, the good thing that the Lord has in store for those that welcome his appearing. Come on. Don't you want to go? None of the righteous, none of the righteous, I say none of the righteous, oh none of the righteous. Now everybody talking about heaven ain't going. You gotta have a clean heart. All right. Everybody talking about heaven ain't going. You got to be born again. So you got shoes, I got shoes. All of our children got brand new shoes. When we get to heaven, we can put on our shoes and shout. All right, you got a roll, I got a roll. All of our children got brand new robes. When we get to heaven, we can put on our robe and shout. Oh, none but the righteous. Somebody help me.
None but the righteous. None but the righteous.
Oh,
None but the righteous.
Girl, you got shoes, I got shoes. All of our children got brand new shoes. When we get to heaven, we can put on our shoes and shout. Oh, yes. Well, I've been told
Streets up there are paved with gold. 12 gates, deep under the pearl. Won't be nobody there but those that been washed in his blood. Oh, everybody talking about heaven ain't going. You gotta have a clean heart. Is that all right? Everybody talking about heaven ain't going. You got to be born again. Oh,
when it's good, I get to heaven, gonna put on my shoes and shout.
With the righteous.
Oh, when I get to heaven, gonna put on my shoes and shout. Oh, heaven.
With the righteous.
The big 3 gates into the east,
The big 3 gates into the west. The big 3 gates into the north. The big 3 gates into the south.
oh, plenty good room.
Oh, yeah.
For the righteous. Yes, plenty good room.
For the righteous. Come on,
Come on,
come on, come on,
come on,
come on, come on, come on,
let's get righteous.
come on, saints, let's get
righteous. Oh, when I get to heaven, gonna put on my shoes and shout.
All right. Song, our religious song, our church song, our worship song.
And that is a gospel song that's not necessarily for church service, but it's got syncopated beats. It got the new chord structures. It's got everything that Kirk Franklin is doing. It might have some stuff that Ray Charles did, but the theme is shouting with the righteous when you get to heaven, and you only go to heaven by Jesus Christ.
Amen. Well done. Excellent. Well, listen, as we wrap this show up, a fantastic job, and I thank our guest as always. Is there a parting song you'd like to share with us before you tell our audience some of your music, or you want to let it rest there, and we tell them how they can contact us personally? I'm being selfish. I know how your strengths, and I know how great your music is. And if you had another piece that you might want to share with us, a part of the piece or the whole piece.
Well, you can go to YouTube and look up songs by Jeremiah Coleman. and you'll find you can find a lot of my songs there, songs by Jeremiah Coleman on YouTube, and you'll get a clearer version. I don't know if the songs I'm playing is coming through the system or if it's coming through the microphone here. I don't know what we're getting on that end. If my computer is sending, I want it to be clear what people hear. And but my favorite song out of all songs is Jesus, You're the Center of My Joy. Jesus, You're the Center of My Joy. I heard that song. It's written by Richard Smallwood years ago. And of course, I've done a lot of different types of music. And but that one song stuck with me, and I've sang it ever since. And it's just my favorite song of all time.
Give it a shot.
And I don't know if I do it justice by singing right now. Jesus, You're the center of my joy. All that's good and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment, hope for all I do. Oh, Jesus, You're the center of my joy. When I've lost my direction, You're the compass for my way. You're the fire and light when nights are long and cold. In sadness, You are the laughter that shadows all of my fears. Oh, when I'm all alone, Your hand is there to hold.
That's okay. Let it happen. Let it happen. That's why, Brother Coleman, we are called Soul Sunday. And I want people to understand. And Maya is giving you your accolades, man, and thumbs are going up everywhere on these other monitors, and fantastic. But we let our people know, Brother Coleman. I always let my audience know that even though this is our second, I'll call it a second premiere of Soul Sunday, is that our segment is not a preaching segment. It is a segment to help people get an idea and a grip and understand that God is everywhere, and He comes at us in different areas and different genres. And we're talking about music today. Last week we talked about soul searching. Next week coming up, we'll probably talk about pain that we feel and we deal with, and we share scripture and that kind of thing. Because whatever spirit hits you, brother, feel free. If you want to continue the song, feel free to do that. If not, I respect that. But I just want you to know that this show is for, I like to call it cleansing, because you help so many people with not only your sound, but with your genuine being and with the words that you share, because so many people are in pain right now. And that's going to be our topic for next week. And there's so much confusion about Christianity, people calling themselves evangelical. I mean, I know, there's a term for that and all of that, but we never get down to the heart. And that's what all of my shows are going to be based on, is that I believe very, very strongly that the mirror reflects an image, but the soul holds the truth. And until we can delve into the soul, then we are all spinning our wheels and wasting our time. No one has said that any of us are perfect. No one has said that any of us don't have any flaws. But what we are saying on Soul Sunday is that we will have an opportunity to express what we feel and the way we feel it. So that's your favorite song. If you want to continue and keep it rolling, jump right in. If not, I respect that.
Oh man, I wish I could play, something that was clearer. I don't know what the sound quality is, but all in all, I can make a recommendation. Although this is not a preaching show, but I am a ambassador of Jesus Christ, and to have an opportunity to say something about the one that I live for would be an injustice to him. And so I just say to all that are listening that Christ is the answer to whatever we have. When he said it is finished, he had done all that was needed to do. All you have to do is accept him and let him come into your life. And he has said, I've come that you may have life and have life more abundantly. And so if you want to live with Jesus. Okay, now I said that. That's for all the preaching I'm going to do today.
And that's okay.
But I had to do that.
Here an encouraging word, and we all need to have it based on something that's tangible. Yeah. And we do appreciate that. So, ladies and gentlemen, listen, we appreciate having you all here. This is Sunday Soul. Yeah. Soul Sunday, I should say. And we are here every Sunday, 5 p.m. We will have various guests. We want to invite you, if you're interested in being a guest, to contact us at the Nobody Asked Me Guy Show at gmail.com. The Nobody Asked Me Guy Show at gmail.com. Because one thing about this, ladies and gentlemen, is that we're not going to waste your time posturing and pretending to be something that we're not. So again, we like to thank each and every one of you for joining us. We definitely want to thank Mr. Coleman, and I plan to have Mr. Coleman back whenever he is comfortable coming back, because we want Mr. Coleman to share some more of his music with us and to give us some more of that wisdom. Maya, as always, you support us, and we are certainly thankful to you. And let me say to Mr. Ramon Villarreal, we wanted to make sure we answered your question. And as we close this show, we want to encourage all of our viewers that you can take one of these cameras, but of our guest, anytime you so feel, or you can put your questions in the box. On some of our formats, I don't have play. You have to come into the room. That's why we say to everyone, go to Google Browser, because you can only come into the room through Google Browser. And then you can FaceTime our guests and you can ask your questions. So again, guys, we're so very grateful to you, and we thank you for being here. And we want all of you to have a great and wonderful, blessed day. Brother Coleman, we salute you, my brother. We salute you for your great, and Maya is saying thank you, yes, Mr. Sir. Coleman. And she's also thanking me. Well, thank you, Maya. Great music, Mr. Coleman, and voice too. I agree, Ms. Maya. And all was clear. Have a blessed week. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, we invite you back next Sunday, 5 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Go to your Google browser and hit Get Vocal and follow the instructions. Mr. Coleman, it's been great. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having us.